So we'll just start with one thing I was a little confused about, or in particular, or a little surprised that you did call. So just tell me what led to that call and what brought you in today.
Well, I guess because I was caught a little off guard um, by the interview that you did with the board member on yesterday um, concerning a district employee in the communications department. And I just wanted to contact you and maybe, I don't know, there were a couple things that I wasn't clear on, and to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we're giving out good information.
Okay. So what weren't you clear about, or what questions did you have then? I guess for me.
Okay, so I think that the interview seemed to center around our communications director and that she's not at work, and why that is. I think, you know, what I would like to emphasize is that she's not at work because she was assaulted, physically injured, and she is recuperating. When that's done, when that recuperation is done, she'll be back to work. It seemed, though, that a lot of energy, a lot of questions around the assault leave policy. Well, the assault leave is just one of many of the reasons why employees are off. It could be maternity, it could be, you know, just personal leave or whatever. But what you showed on yesterday was two criteria on the assault leave policy. One was that you know, the person being accused had to be up for prosecution, and unless they could not, as being a minor. Okay, but the whole policy, the entire assault leave policy says that assault leave is granted to an employee who is injured while performing their duties, their regular duties, okay? And they are given the time off to recuperate from those injuries, whatever the time may be. That didn't seem to make it into the broadcast, and I wanted to be sure that people understand that you know, assault leave, exactly what the policy says. It's a person who has been injured in the performance of their regular duties.
So let me ask you this then.
Okay.
If a person is injured in their regular duties, does there then need to be some kind of doctor's note or something to accompany that when they are seeking assault leave?
Well, there are medical records, and as the process goes along, there has to be documentation that that person is still qualified to be on the particular leave that they're on.
So
okay?
where is that documentation?
That is handled by the HR department and the HR supervisor. Okay, that is medical records. And another thing that I was surprised at is the energy around reviewing medical records. I'm not sure. I do know that in other cases in the district where there's been leave, whether it be assault leave, whether it be maternity leave or whatever, the board has never asked to review their medical records or have them prove or document that they are entitled to whatever leave they're on. You know, sometimes, you know, we have board members, we have media, we have community that operate from a position of emotion. When we do that, then sometimes, you know, the best judgment is not used. Now, I'm not understanding why this particular employee is being asked to open up medical records and to document that this person is qualified to be on leave. I've never known us to do that, so I'm not sure why that came about.
But even though that hasn't been done before, if if your constituents are asking you about this particular person, this is taxpayer dollars that are going towards these salaries, and that's what it comes from, taxpayers. So if they do have a question about that because they're not necessarily seeing the results, isn't then it the responsibility of the board member to at least find out some information that they can?
It's all taxpayer dollars, okay? Whether it be a teacher, whether it be whoever, it's all taxpayer dollars. But my point still is that we've never, as a board, reviewed medical records. Now, you know, when you start asking for medical records, then there's a fine line. There's a Privacy Act, HIPAA, and so we are communicating with the lawyer to make sure that that's even a request that we would honor. But there just seems to be maybe not a level playing field there, and I'm not sure that I understand why that is. And I wanted to make mention that, you know, when board members come to the media, okay, it needs to be understood by the board member and by the media and by the community that that's his personal opinion, his or her personal opinion, an editorial, if you would. Everyone has a personal opinion, but when it comes to district policy, board operating procedures, the person designated to speak to that is the board president. So I am here to say that, you know, when you are dealing with personnel, you must be very, very careful to guard people's privacy. So we want to be very conscious of that. And I think that the board has been consistent in not discussing personnel matters in the public. And transparency is something that the district is committed to, the board is committed to, and I personally have committed to being transparent. But what needs to be understood is that we can't let transparency trump privacy rights and the law. So we need to be very careful about that, and not be. And I know that maybe some board members, even members of the media, are frustrated because, I mean, your job is the flow of information. But you have to understand that sometimes the board, the district, we're not able by law to do that. We're just not. It's not that we're trying to stonewall or we're trying to hide anything. And to that point, when a board member says they don't know where the investigation or the status of the investigation is, that's very surprising to me, because the findings of the investigation were given to us by Walsh Anderson, that we hired to do the investigation, and outside organization, yes, outside, because it dealt with a board member and a staff member. We didn't do the ordinary internal investigation. We brought in an objective third party.
Can you talk about what those findings were?
I cannot, because that was given to us in executive session. Okay? And what I want to emphasize is that those findings were given to us. That investigation is closed. Every board member was present in that executive session when those findings were given. And then to come back and say, well, I don't know the status is a little bit surprising and maybe a little bit misleading, because I think we do know what the findings were. Now, the fact that I can't discuss it with you is another matter, but that is because that by law that's an executive session, and we don't discuss things from executive session. Okay? So, you know, these are some of the things that came from the interview that were kind of concerning to me or disconcerting to me. And that's why I wanted to come and speak with you.
Understandable. But going back,
okay,
because we still do have some questions, and if you are able to answer them, that would be great.
If I'm able to answer.
Right.
Right.